Welcome to PowerPoint Chapter 3. You can follow along in your book starting on page PowerPoint 121. And today we will be inserting video, audio, animation, and photos with effects into our PowerPoint slideshow. So we're going to start today by inserting a photo right here on my initial slide. So that is under the Insert tab, Pictures. And I'll choose this hidden bike picture. Now, for this slideshow, this picture needs to be as big as the entire slide. So you can see I'm kind of moving it around and resizing it. Remember, your two-headed arrow resizes and your four-headed arrow moves. So I've resized it now to be the same size as my slide. Now, I'd like to recolor this photo a little bit, and I can do that very easily by using my Picture Tools tab, the Format tab that appears when this picture is selected. Remember, when you do not have a picture selected, you cannot find that tab. So make sure your picture is selected. And then over here in this Adjust area, there is an option for Color. I'm going to look at the color saturation choices, and as I hover over each one, you can see it gives me a preview down here on this side. I want 400% for this photo, so I click on it, and that changes my saturation levels on this picture. Next up, I'd like to add an artistic effect to this photo. So to do that, in that same area, you'll see you have an Artistic Effects button. And there is an option for cement. So I will choose this option to apply the cement artistic effect to this picture. And finally, whenever you are using pictures that cover the whole slide, or you have multiple pictures and text on the screen, sometimes you have to change the order of how those things are stacked on top of each other. So in this case, we want to bring the text that is behind this photo up front. So I've got my hidden bike photo selected. And so if I look at my Picture Tools format area, there is an option to send backwards or bring forwards. There's also a drop-down box that gives me a couple of other options too. In this case, I want to send the picture backwards so that I can see the text, and the text comes forward. So I'm going to click that twice to bring it up front. All right, next up, I want to resize this placeholder that holds the title words. So to do that, first I click in the placeholder so I can see it, and then I click on the border around the placeholder. Then if I hover over one of the placeholder handles, the top middle one, I can click and drag and raise it all the way to the top of the slide to make that placeholder larger. Next up, I want to align this text so that it is aligned on the right side of the slide. So if I now click in that placeholder, that puts my cursor in there, and I can choose on my Home tab, Paragraph area, Align Right. That will align the text to the right side of the slide. Finally, I want to move this placeholder slightly. So if I click on the boundary of the placeholder, I can get a four-headed arrow, and now if I click and drag, I can move that placeholder so it's almost to the right side of the slide. And release. Down here at the bottom, I have this subtitle placeholder. I'd like to get rid of it. So if I click on the border around it to select it, I can use my delete key to get rid of that placeholder. To change views in a slideshow, you look down at the bottom, you're already in normal view. If you would like to view it in slide sorter view, it's this button right here. This allows you to see thumbnails of each of the slides in your presentation. Reading view allows you to display and look through the presentation, and each of these little buttons right here let you go forward and backwards through it. You can also end the slideshow. So reading is kind of like looking at it in what it would look like when you were actually using it. So finally, I'm going to switch back to normal view because this is usually what I use when I'm editing individual slides. Let me choose the second slide. There is also a zoom button here that allows you to zoom in and out on your slideshow. So know about that. It is handy. And in this case, I want to zoom out to 90% or thereabouts so that I can see my slideshow, my slide a little bit closer. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit so that I can see this entire illustration, and I'll select it. You can see the sizing handles for this illustration. And let's talk about grouping and ungrouping things in an illustration. So on your picture format tab, you have some options to group objects, or in the drop-down box, in this case, ungroup objects. So an illustration is a collection of complex groups of objects, and so you may need to ungroup this object into less complex objects before being able to modify a specific part of it. So if I click ungroup, it will ask me if I'm sure I want to do that. So I'll say yes. And by clicking that yes, by clicking that yes button, it converts the picture to a drawing object. So I go to group, ungroup, and now you can see all the little pieces of this object. And that makes it look like it does. So if I wanted to try and change the color of the shirt of this image, then if I click just on the shirt now, you can see each of these little pieces of the image are different parts. So now if I click on the object shirt, I can then come up to my shape fill area and choose yellow to make the shirt yellow. And then I can click this rear wheel hub right here. That's a separate piece of this whole illustration, and I can make that yellow too as well. And the front hub, let's make that yellow too. Now, also, I don't really like this blue background on this image, so if I click on it, I can use my delete key to get rid of that background part. And then you can see I've got all these sweat droplets right here that are coming off this person. I don't really want them either, so I can click on those and hit my delete key and get rid. It's easier too to zoom into things to select them, especially if you're having trouble selecting different pieces of things. So, okay, now I want to group all of these individual little objects that make up this picture back into one picture. So to do this, I'm going to click over here way on the left side and drag a box around the image, making sure to contain all of the pieces of the image, and then I let go. I can go to my Drawing Tools Format tab, choose Group, and choose Group again. That will now group this into one picture with all those little bitty components are now stuck together, grouped together so that it moves as a whole. Now, if I keep this picture selected and go to my Home tab, I can copy this picture. So this is my copy button right here, or I can use Control-C or any other way that I like to copy. I can copy this picture. So I switch to slide number 1 and I press my paste button. Here is my image. I can drag and resize it slightly and put it over here on the bottom of my slide right underneath of the title. Now we are going to take a look at adding media to slideshows. So we'll start with video. I will switch to slide number 3. And then we are going to insert a video on this slide. So if I go to my Insert tab, I will see that there is an option for video, and I have saved this video to my computer, so I choose video on my PC. I find that video, mountain bike video, and I click insert. So now it has inserted this video onto my slideshow. Next up, I want to look at how to trim the video. Maybe I don't want the entire video to play, only part of it. So notice I have these two tabs, Video Tools, Format and Playback tabs, when I have my video selected. So on the Playback tab, I will choose to trim the video. That opens up a window, and this green marker right here indicates the start and stop of the video. So I'll take and I will drag this along to the point in which I want to start the video. If I know the time of what I want it to be at too, I can just click down here at this box and type it in. So this is kind of the time code of that video. So 5.991, you can see there's my green handle. That's my start point. And I want my end point to be, this is the end point. I can drag it to where I need it to be. I want it to end at 29 seconds, 29.100 seconds. So here's my start time, here's my end time. If I want to preview that, I can hit my preview button and see my video. And then I'm going to go ahead and stop this. And then I can also make some other changes to this too. I'll go ahead and click the OK to trim that video. So I'm only showing a portion of it. And then if I look at my Video Tools Playback tab again, I can see the start button. So this is when do I want this video to start in my slideshow? Do I want to have to press the play button? Or as soon as I click on the slide or I move to the slide, do I want it to start? And that's what I want. I want it to start automatically as soon as I flip to that slide. So I'll choose automatically. And then also, I want it to play full screen when it starts to play. So I change that. And then I can also change the volume of this video too. I just want it to be medium. I don't want it to be too loud, so I'm going to choose medium. And then if you'll notice, if I come to slide number 2 and I start my slideshow, when I move to that slide, it automatically starts and goes full screen. I can also insert audio sound. So on slide number 1, I am going to choose my Insert tab, and if you notice there's an option to add audio over here in the media area. So I have a choice. I can add some already pre-recorded audio that's listed on my PC, or I actually, if I wanted to, could record audio right here and narrate my slideshow or something like that. In this case, I want to insert some audio that's already on my PC, like sound effects. Now I have to find it, and here it is, pedaling sounds. So I click on it and I can insert that. This little audio button right here is the indication that there's audio on this slide. So I'm going to drag it to the lower left-hand corner of the slide so it's not right in the middle of the picture. So I can't really see it down here in the bottom. It doesn't take away from the slide itself. And then notice that I get 2 tabs for audio tools. I have the Format and the Playback tab for that. So I also want this audio to start as soon as the slide starts. So I will choose automatically from the Start menu. And then I want that audio to loop, to continuously play over and over again until I switch to the next slide. And then finally, I really don't even want this little audio symbol to show, so I'm going to say hide it during the show so my audience can't see that icon while I am presenting. You can also trim audio files. So if I click on trim audio, I can play the audio, and I can click and drag the start time or the end time of my audio too if I wanted to. So know that that option is available just like it is for video. Now let's look back at that video file and let's resize the video. So I'll click on the video, go to my format. Notice my video tools tabs that pop up for that. I'm going to go to my format tab. Using handles on my video to resize it. I want it to be about 9.7 inches in width and about 5.5 inches in height. It doesn't have to be exact, but I'll try to get it close. I can't really use my height and width right here in this area because I'm actually changing the ratio of the height to the width for this video. I could, if I went into size and uncheck the box that said lock aspect ratio. But in this case, I don't need it to be exact, so I'll get it close. Finally, there are styles that you can add to videos. So if you'll notice on the Video Tools Format tab, here are my video styles. There are lots of options. And I'm going to choose the Reflected Perspective Right option for my video. I can also add a border to my video. So right beside that, there's video borders. And I'll change the width of this to 2.14. And so now I'm going to change the color of that video border. So I'll click the video border button again and find the yellow border and choose that. Next up, we will look at animating slide content. Animations are different than transitions in that transitions are how each slide moves from one slide to the next, like how that looks. And animations are how the individual components may appear on a slide. So we are going to animate an illustration using an entrance effect. So on slide 2, I will choose the biker clip and then go to my animations tab and change the animation, or actually add one. So in this case, I want this clip to fly in. You can see a live preview after I click on it. And then I can also change the direction of this. So once I choose the animation, then I can come over here to Effect Options and choose the direction from where I want it to come. So now it's going to fly in from the left, looking like this little guy is riding his bicycle on to my slide. Okay, so now my biker will ride onto the screen, and now I want it to teeter when it gets on the screen. So I have to add another effect. So I will click it again and choose Add Animation and come down to the teeter area. So now it will fly on the screen and then teeter back and forth. I can see that I have 2 animations added to this because I see 2 little boxes right there beside it. And then finally, after it does that, I want it to fly off the screen. So I'll add another animation. I want it to fly out, so I have to scroll down to the exit area and choose Fly Out. And now I should see 3 little boxes right here on my bike, letting me know that there are 3 animations applied to it. Lastly, I want to change the direction of the flying out. So if I come into my options, I want it to fly out to the right. So he's going to ride onto the screen, teeter back and forth, and then fly off the screen. So to preview what that looks like, on my Animations tab, there's a preview option. I can click it and see my little guy ride on the screen, teeter, and fly off. So now I want to modify the animation timing. That means I want, for instance, I want this to take a second before it rides onto the screen. So I click the tag marked 1 so that I know I'm dealing with the first animation. And I am going to choose in the timing area where it says start, instead of on click, I'm going to have it do after the previous. And the duration I will change to 2 seconds, which will be a little bit longer. So let me preview that now. Notice he rides a little slower when he comes on the screen. So I can also click this delay option and choose to have it delay for 3 seconds so that it takes about 3 seconds before the whole animation starts.
You can also animate content placeholder paragraphs. To do that, click on the content placeholder, click on the outside line to make it solid, so you've selected it, and then choose your animation. So I'll click my More button so that I can see them all, and I want to find the fade entrance animation, so I'll choose that. And I will have my start option, change that to with the previous, and change the duration time to 2 seconds. Next, I'll click the Add Animation button, and where it says Emphasis, I am going to click Font Color, and I'm going to change that, the Start option, to after previous. Now let's preview my slide. Now let's look at changing the theme and variant on just one slide. So on this slide only, slide 2, I'm going to click the Design tab and click the More button under Themes and find the Retrospect theme. So I'll right-click the Retrospect theme so that I see my shortcut menu, and I am going to apply this to the selected slides. This will keep from changing the theme of my entire PowerPoint. It will only change the theme of the selected slide, slide 2. So I'll apply it to that slide, and then I'll right-click the variant, the green variant over here, right-click it again, and choose Apply to Selected Slides. That will make sure that it only changes that one slide and not the entire slideshow. I can also change theme colors. If I click on the More button beside Variants, if I click on the More button, I see an option for colors. If I click on my colors, I can see some previews of that. I want it to be just green, so I'll choose the green options for colors. Now, to run my slideshow, I hit my slideshow button and watch it go through my slideshow. I'll start at the beginning. Here we go. Now, to preview and print a handout, I can go to my file, print, and there's an option to print full page slides. I'll change that to slides horizontal. It'll give me a preview of what it will look like. I can also choose 3 slides, so I have a little writing to write beside those slides. Please don't print this. You don't actually need to print it. But if you were to, that's how you print a slideshow. And that's it. So now it's your turn. Let's see what you can do with adding media and animations to a slideshow.